Hello again. Welcome to our recap of SEC basketball from Thursday. Had 3 games in the SEC. 2 of them were pretty interesting in very different ways. We will recap all those. A reminder, our show presented by BetOnline, the last of the major pro sports leagues, is off and rolling. College basketball ready to go as well. BetOnline remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests, NFL, college football, UFC, NHL, all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action, along with every sport available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today. Use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV in caps, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Well, the game started yesterday with LSU and Dayton and Charleston, and my goodness, could you lose a game in more heartbreaking fashion than LSU lost yesterday?
I just make sure my mic's on. I forgot how to do this. It's been a while I haven't been on this week. Yes, but yeah, I mean you can lose games in more heartbreaking fashion than that because we've seen other teams that I won't name do that. But
We might be
no,
naming one soon.
well, it's brutal because I mean, look, this was a team that just desperately needed a pick me up after the Nichols game, and now to come back, a week later, basically, and this be the result after you're, up 15 with 9 minutes left and everything's in your favor. And it just looks like, Dayton has no chance. And then it just completely flips. And yeah, so I think this was one, again, you think about the reaction to the loss to Nichols at home, neutral court game here. You play well enough to be in that spot 30 minutes into the game. And then basically the final 10 minutes, it's just, everything goes the opposite way. And now you're sitting here 1-2 on the season. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a bad start. I think all things considered, and just this game alone, I don't know. I mean, I know we can play the what if game with lots of teams and everything, but I do still go back to where it's like what LSU scored from the 9:07 mark to the 3:42 mark. They scored 2 points. So that is basically what, 5.5 minutes. They scored 2 points. But if you just had a Jalen Cook, someone like that,
Oh, man.
it would just be a
Yeah.
difference when they hit these stretches like that, because otherwise, this is a team I think that's still figuring out in terms of like their offensive identity. I don't think that, no probably to it. They are. And yeah, so it's just kind of one of those things where it's a brutal loss, not in the same way the Nichols loss was, but this one's just sort of maybe even more deflating in a sense, just based on what they really needed to do here.
Their offensive possessions were just so, I don't know, disjointed down the stretch. I mean, you mentioned needing a cook. I hate to point fingers here, but one of the guys they needed to step up and be a dude for them is Jordan Wright. He's now 4-23 from the floor his last couple games. Now, I don't think Jordan Wright is well, I mean, he did it at Vanderbilt a couple times, was a go-to guy, but that's generally not who he is. And I think Will Baker has carried them at times. We saw that in the opener, but I don't know. There's just something missing, and I think you probably just nailed it a couple of minutes ago.
Well, that's the problem, is like we did see Baker score 29 in the opener. He also scored 2 against Nichols and, had some turnovers, right? And so it's not, we're not just talking Baker here, but like it is the Wright, I thought would be the guy that had to take over for them given the makeup of this roster. And I think that's going to have to be the way it is most of the season. Like, yeah, you saw what Jalen Reed had 16. Ward had 12 off the bench, all that. But if they're going to win games in the SEC, it's gonna go through Jordan Wright, because he's the most experienced player of the bunch, especially when it comes to the SEC, and we've seen him do it before. And so, yes, if he has a game like that, like you said, where he's struggling to score and make shots consistently, they're going to be in these kind of games like this, where it is 2 possessions here can decide whether they win or lose. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said, 1-2 start. They play North Texas today, Friday. That ain't going to be easy. So not ideal for the Tigers here, because it felt like this was the one they were going to get, and they just didn't. So,
and then there were the other Tigers.
How many other? This was a Tiger slate. We had two other Tigers.
Had a few
the
of those
SEC
lately.
Tiger special on Thursday. So I don't know which one you're going to now.
What can we say about your? Oh, that's right.
I mean,
let's be more clear. And then there was your client Dennis Gates.
Oh well, I know you're talking about
who
now.
did the reverse LSU Tiger.
Well, listen, T-shirts, whatever you want to make, the Dennis effect. Believe in, I don't know.
You couldn't wait to do this today, could you?
Can we get our friends at Believe to maybe do a Believe in Dennis? There's some merchandise they could sell like crazy. Yeah, I mean, this was a wild game because this is just kind of the thing you expect, I feel like, from Missouri basketball the past year and, 4 games now. You're just going to have some of these games where you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, really, I think that's the best way to describe it, where every game can be wacky. You get the last second finishes like you got last year. Now you get one like this where you're down 20 with 11 minutes to go. You're down, 14 with 7 minutes, something like that. And then you win the game. And I mean, this was one, we talk about how deflating that was for LSU. I think this was huge for Missouri in terms of, this is a team that I've said it, right? We can have our fun and all that, but this is a team that's further behind than the one last year. I mean, they're still figuring things out. Like, it's very clear at this point. And so to get a win like this, I mean, it's just significant for their confidence because, again, these were the kind of wins that you were accustomed to seeing last year where, whether it's the Tennessee game in Knoxville, there are going to be some that I forget just because of how many games have been played since then. But, all those kind of games, right? They won that overtime game against Mississippi State. Just, yeah, I mean, all those. And so I think it's like one of those things where just the win, it wasn't the prettiest at times, but just to get that win on the road, true road game at Minnesota. I know Minnesota's a team, picked lower in the Big Ten. I get it. But again, Minnesota was in control, and Missouri, they Nick honored them. I mean, that's really all it comes down to. Like, there are so many guys in Missouri you can use as a verb. They got Kobe Brown last year. They got Demoy Hodged, and now they got Nick honored. The opponents, that's just what happens sometimes. And so honor makes, let me pull it up here. I had it, but I was going back and forth. So it's 59-39 with 11:25 to go. Nick Honor makes a 3, 11:09, 59-42. Nick Honor scores again, 59-44 with 10:39 to go. Nick Honor makes another 3, 59-47. So the man goes on an 8-0 run by himself in a span of 1 minute and 24 seconds. I mean, Reggie Miller-esque, if you ask me. And so, but look, I mean, that's what we said, right? When he came back, there's just, you can't replace a guy like that in terms of the experience and just the value of having your leader on the court at the point guard position. And we said how many times last year he just makes so many clutch shots, made so many clutch plays. And like, that was what kickstarted this whole thing. Sure, after that 8-0 run he made by himself, Minnesota gets it back up to 14 with 7.5 to go. But from there, Missouri was aggressive. They started to get easier baskets. And yeah, I mean, made some free throws too. Those are important down the stretch. And so Sean East makes the play with 9 seconds left, the end one. And so what a win for the Tigers. Because yeah, this was one that looked like it was about to slip away. And I think, they lose this game, boy, that confidence is really lacking moving forward. But to get a win like that, Nick Honor kind of put him on his back to start the thing. Yeah, huge.
This is one of the strangest distributions of minutes I've ever seen. They go East with 33, Carter with 31, Honor with 30, and then a drop off to Aiden Shaw at 18, and then Tamar Bates at 15, who I thought would be playing a little bit more. Vanover made his debut, got 7 minutes, didn't really do much. But was this just hey, you guys all stink, so I'm going to keep rotating parts till we find something that works here situation?
No, I mean, we know he's going to play. Listen, I think if Dennis Gates could play 18 guys, he would. I mean, that's the way he likes. Like, he likes to play a lot of guys. Now look,
When you play fast, that happens. Yeah.
Caleb Grill probably plays some more minutes if he doesn't get ejected. So, that's one of those things too that I don't know. But again, I'm not shocked by this. I feel like we said this last year where every guy that's on the bench is going to have a chance to play at times. May not come SEC play, but when you're playing that many guys, some minutes, even if it's 3, that's just the way they work. They did it last year at times and doing it again. But this was, I don't know, man. Again, I'm not saying Minnesota's a team that, is going to wind up finishing the top half of the Big Ten or anything like that, because they're not. Might be the worst team in the Big Ten. But I think it's just how you won and the confidence that was needed. After really your next biggest game to this point was the Memphis game, and you just completely, came out, just couldn't put anything together in the last half, right? Where it was a complete change where they were up whatever against Memphis. Memphis kind of does the same thing to them. But this one, was significant for Missouri. I think they're still figuring things out. Nice to be sitting at 3-1 when you're in that spot, still trying to figure out exactly who's going to be doing what for you, but you will take this without question.
All right, the last of the Tigers. Auburn hammers Notre Dame 83-59 in the Vivid Seats Legends Classic. Aiden Holloway goes for 15 points, 5 assists. Janai Broome gives Auburn 15 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. I thought Auburn would win this decisively. Maybe not by that many, but good sign for the Tigers here.
Yeah, as a non-betting man, I thought Auburn minus 14.5 or whatever it was about as easy of money as you could find. Notre Dame's just they're not very good. Micah Shrewsbury takes over. He knew this was going to be a rebuilding year. Like, this is a team that's got its work cut out for it. They're playing they're starting a couple freshmen. They're, playing underclassmen. They've got, I think, what is it? 4 freshmen are pretty much in the rotation, in the 8-man rotation. I think 4 of them are freshmen. You got a couple sophomores in there. So it's just a team that lacks a lot of experience, and it is full rebuild mode in year 1 for them. They just lost to Western Carolina, which I don't know. I don't think Western Carolina is a bad team because they just went to Middle Tennessee and won earlier in the week, I think. But yeah, I just thought Auburn was going to be way too much for Notre Dame, and that's what happened here. I mean, this was one that, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot to say because I'm like, Auburn did exactly what you wanted them to do here. Now, I think the biggest thing probably, if you're an Auburn fan, is they only gave up 59 points, right? And like their defense and all that's been bad, especially in the second half. So to only give up that many points and 26 of them came in the second half. So, hey, I think you'll take that. So maybe that was the biggest development for Auburn. But otherwise, look, they've got depth. We said that going into the season. They got multiple guys that if they're hitting shots, which they go 9 of 20 from 3 here. Yeah, I mean, that's the way Auburn, wins games. Bruce Pearl probably completely happy they had 13 turnovers, but still. And they did give up 14 offensive rebounds. That's probably something else that my guess is he's not thrilled about. But nonetheless, yeah, I think these are the kind of games that the names are what they are, and you're like, okay, expect this to be close. But if you just looked at the matchup on paper, this shouldn't have been close, and Auburn never let it get there. So that's what you want to see from a good team, I think. So
Max and I previewed Friday night. A couple games of interest. I'm interested to see if Georgia can hang with Miami, ranked team there.
Yeah,
we've seen mixed things from Georgia against good opponents. You got Florida State and Florida. I guess that one could be interesting. Always should be. I don't know how intriguing the rest of the games are, although anytime Vanderbilt and Ole Miss play at this point, they're intriguing no matter what, no matter who. What have you got your eye on Friday night?
Well, I'd like to see Auburn do. I don't think it's going to be that one-sided, but I like to see them come out with the same sort of, focus against St. Bonaventure. That's a team that just beat Oklahoma State in a game there. And where are they at? They're in Charleston. No, they're in Brooklyn. Sorry. Yeah. So, hey, I mean, that was a good win for St. Bonaventure to beat Oklahoma State like that. And because remember, it's a St. Bonaventure team that last week lost to Canisius at home. So, yeah, I'd like to see Auburn kind of do the same thing, come out and get another good win. But again, they got to keep improving on the defense and the rebounding. Curious about Miami and Georgia. I think, boy, man, Miami's starting five is just a load to handle. I don't know depth wise, but like starting five, I take that starting five against most people in the country. So it's going to be a challenge for Georgia if they don't. They got to be aggressive. They got to try to get somebody in foul trouble because, again, I just really like that starting five for Miami. Florida State's always interesting. I think Florida's the better team, but you know what you get with the Leonard Hamilton team. Did you know? I think it's like 4 of the last 5 years. Let me make sure I got this right. 4 of the last 5 seasons, I think Florida State per Ken Palm has been the tallest team in the country.
Wow.
Well, you just know how that. I mean, he always has recruited just guys with size. Whether guards have size, big guy, it's just yeah. So actually, I think they're maybe down to the second this year in height. But remember, this is a Florida team that's bigger. They're bigger overall in terms of like they got Logden, they got Samuel, so you got 6'10" and whatever 7 foot. So I think Florida's equipped to take care of business here. They get Zion pulling back. That's significant. Arkansas. Some Arkansas fans weren't thrilled with the Old Dominion performance, but I don't think that's a bad team, and I don't think Greensboro's a bad team. So, Muss is going to want to see some improvement in a couple key areas in that game for sure. Alabama, are they going to put up 100 again? We'll see. They play Mercer, and if they put up 100 again, we're just going to – the streak watch is on. Like, are they just going to score 100 in every game this season? We'll find out. And, hey, South Carolina DePaul, if the Gamecocks – can win this game.
Gamecocks looked good.
Did you know that if South Carolina wins this game, of course I'm going to get this stat wrong, but I'm trying to pull it out of my head here. Some people may think I'm trying to pull it out of somewhere else, but I think it'll be the first time since 2016-17. Yeah, actually, I know that's the case, that South Carolina will have started 4-0 in a season. So, yeah, I mean, this is significant because think about this. If South Carolina beats DePaul, they got Notre Dame up next, which we just saw. I think South Carolina's better than Notre Dame. They got George Washington after that, 2 home games. They go to Clemson after that. Like, don't look now, but South Carolina could get off to a great start here if they can win this game because then they've got 2 very winnable home games after that. So the Gamecocks trending up. I apologize to all South Carolina fans. We have undervalued your team through 3 games, but stock rising very, very quickly if they can beat this DePaul team. So,
yeah, I don't remember if I ever pointed this out before the season. I did my research. I don't know if I ever had an opportunity to present this. And let me pull this up while we're doing it because I'll give you the exact number.
Experience,
a lot of it. By my calculation, here we go. Oop, wrong page. I promise you we're getting there. This will be so worth it when we do.
Presented by Bet Online.
Chris is stalling, presented by Bet Online. Okay, here we go. South Carolina's players last year played 8,531 minutes at various Division I schools. And I think they were neck and neck with Arkansas, which would have had more minutes than anybody, except that Keon Minifield is not eligible, the Washington transfer. So take his 916 minutes out of it. Arkansas sits at 7,987. These are unofficial, but I did put some time into this, and I don't think I missed anybody. So, look, now the question I had is I don't know how good these guys are. Some of these are not coming from powerhouse teams. You got Coastal Carolina, the Citadel, and a very mediocre Minnesota team, in addition to Wofford and Miles Studi from Vandy, is where these kids came from. But, sometimes experience matters. Sometimes just being on the floor and getting that experience pays off. And I'm starting to think that I kind of felt preseason, Blake, and we all had our differences of opinion. With Ole Miss, I had some questions about them anyway, and now without a couple transfers that they were counting on, you look at the results, I think we have some valid questions about Ole Miss. We've got questions about Vanderbilt, certainly, until Tyron Lawrence comes back. And certainly we got questions about LSU after losing to Nichols and falling in the last few seconds to Dayton. I feel like South Carolina at this point has kind of elevated itself above that bottom tier of teams. We'll see if that holds, but it's something I think we're watching.
Yeah, I mean, it's early, but listen, I think those four guys of Michi Johnson, BJ Mack, Delon Cooper, Miles Studi, and Jacoby Wright's doing good things off the bench. But I think those four guys in the starting lineup can take this team to a competitive level in the SEC night in, night out. Because the chemistry there, that's what's always interesting. Transfer portal era, never know. But when you watch these guys play these first three games, chemistry's there. Like, they're on the same page. And so, yeah, I mean, I think right now they wouldn't be in the Wednesday night play-in game if you played it right now. They'd be outside of the bottom four, in my opinion. Now, they may be 10th, but they'd still be outside the bottom four. And so I think they've shown more than the other four teams. Now, they come out and lose to DePaul tonight, then we got to reset our expectations. But I think they should beat DePaul. I think they're a better team.
Yeah.
And so Lamont Paris tried to tell us, but
he did. I was in the room.
Key game, because you win this one, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves. But I look at the rest of that non-conference schedule. Ooh, they could get out of there with a loss, maybe at most, depending on how things unfold. But as we know, college basketball, not that easy sometimes. And especially a team that's still trying to take that big step. It's looked good so far, but you got to put it together consistently to get there.
All right, our early season concern list, a week and a half in.
Well,
I want to hear yours. I got mine in mind. I think they're going to be a lot alike, but I don't want to bias your answer.
Before we wrapped up, I was just going to say, watch out for this Ole Miss Sam Houston game. Because just like I said, Ole Miss and Eastern Washington, I said this team could beat them. Now they didn't, but Sam Houston's not bad. I mean, Ole Miss, I think, is one just because, and I don't know that's a fault of Ole Miss. It's just they didn't have two guys we thought that they could have, and it's just different without Brandon Murray specifically. I think, not take anything away from Cisse, but Murray's just without a scoring punch that this team desperately needs. Other concerns, I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, Auburn's defense is not great, but hey, we could say the same thing at times for Alabama, Arkansas. Yeah, I mean, these are teams that are still figuring some things out, right? And so whether it's defense, whether it's rebounding, I feel like we always say that sometimes. With some of these teams early on in the season, they really just lean on scoring. Defense can take a little while to come along, but I'm not saying that I'm just completely concerned about any of these teams, but so maybe it shouldn't be on the concern list. I'm just pointing out things that I see. I mean, aside from that, I wouldn't say I had a lot of huge concerns just because I think to this point, the season's mostly gone the way I would have expected through 3 or 4 games. Now, Vanderbilt, a disappointing loss to start the season. LSU, as you said. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, I don't know if there's any huge concerns I have, just outside of the usual defensive lulls we see from teams at times early in the season.
Two teams that can't afford to lose today, I think, are LSU and Vandy.
Yeah. Well, if Vandy loses to Central Arkansas, boy, they got Presbyterian was.
Vandy's not going to have Tyron Lawrence and Van Allen Lubin tonight. Central Arkansas was without its leading scorer too, whose name escapes me. Not like it's a show changer here, but just point that out for those of you who like your deep dive into.
Listen, this is the Scottie Pippen Bowl.
This is the Scottie Pippen Bowl.
Think about the what's at stake here. You got Scottie.
It's so wild to walk into that gym and you'd walk on the baseline and you look up and there's Scottie Pippen.
There's Scottie. Well, yeah, I mean, you got Scottie Pippen Sr. representing Central Arkansas. You got Scottie Pippen Jr. representing Vanderbilt. So it's a huge game. Family ties here. So that's about all I got for that one.
That's more than a lot of people would have.
Vandy should not lose. That's my analysis on this game.
If
LSU,
Vandy
yeah.
loses tonight, then it's going to get ugly, and I don't think it will. But
Presbyterian's 4-0. Don't look now. But
is that the Southern Miss of this year?
Hey, what? Maybe it is. We don't know.
Could be.
It was early, but they beat the Citadel. They beat North Florida. So,
well, I mean, look, I think this is going to be a very different team when Lawrence gets back. Mandione is carrying them right now. I mean, he's been really good. Now, nobody else has, other than the Comateros kid from South Dakota. But
yep.
Anyway,
all right. Mississippi State plays Washington State on Saturday. That's another interesting game.
And Jackson State, Missouri on Sunday. And then, next
game
week
that's played. Yeah.
Next week we got games. I think.
Big games next week. Tennessee, Syracuse kicking it off on Monday. Get the Vols back on the floor. My goodness, they look good.
They are
the Vols
fun.
Back out there.
Oh my goodness. Is this the most fun Tennessee team we've ever seen?
I feel like
I feel a little dumber for having said that mid-November, but I feel like we had an idea what the pieces were coming in. And now we get a pretty good idea what the pieces look like that they added. And wow.
You know what's going to happen here. South Carolina's going to lose to DePaul. Tennessee's going to lose to Syracuse. And all of a sudden, we spent 10 minutes talking about all this stuff. And that's the pessimist in me. But no, yeah, Tennessee's big.
Do you have another side?
I don't know. It's a big stretch for Tennessee. Remember, they got that game against North Carolina, not next week, but in the following week on the road. So, yep. So there you go. We'll see what happens. Hit that subscribe button.
I like this. This is fun. I mean, we do a lot of things, but we're really in our element when we're doing hoops because that's how we got our start here.
Yep. Arkansas fans are gassed up. Yeah. Maybe I should say the Must Bus is gassed up. I don't want to say if Arkansas fans are gassed up. That maybe
Arkansas, you didn't get your mention today, but it's coming.
Well, I mentioned their defense, but
you did.
They're rebounding. I don't think it's what was it? Muss was upset about. What was it?
Oh, he was upset about a lot of things.
Yeah, but I think it's specifically it's the rebounding. I don't remember what he said, but anyway.
I like the fact that he gave triple Fs for some things, and then he didn't give grades for other things. So I guess there's a grade out there worse than triple F, but Muss has not yet identified that.
Yeah. Well, more talk on the Muss Bus coming soon.
Yeah, lots of hoops talk. Got football talk coming this weekend. Yeah, I hope you're here for it. God bless you guys. Have a great day. You've been watching Southeastern 14 presented by Bet Online.